Welcome back and thank you for joining us in this edition of the Topical Discussion. I am Simon Kagwanjala, and well, this morning we make sense of how the story around sanctions is unfolding in a very dramatic sense. We're looking at the anxiety, we're looking at the hysteria, we're looking at the mixed reactions, and therein comes the contradictions or the controversies surrounding the president's letters that are flying in, day out, in reaction to the sanctions. First was a letter questioning whether indeed Right Honorable Anita Among owned properties abroad, specifically in the United Kingdom. Then there was a letter that came from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, still expressing their reservations on the way the sanctions were slapped onto the Speaker of Parliament. Then there's been a series of letters, some flagged as fake by State House. What is beneath all this hysteria? I'm joined this morning by Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. He's a socio-political analyst. I'll, during the course of the show, be joined by Honorable Daud Kabanda, Member of Parliament, Kasambia County, and the Secretary General of the Patriotic League of Uganda, to make sense, of course, of the current times and what they speak to about the state of politics in the country. Good morning, Yusuf. Nice to see you.
Morning, Simon. Nice to see you too.
What are you reading into the whole excitement, the whole scenario that is building up?
I don't know what you mean by excitement, but I think it's the normal story of our politics. It's the performativity of trying to care, but when you actually don't. I mean, if you read the letter that has been flagged as fake, I don't even know why there was reason to flag it as fake. It's simply asking questions, right? So it's asking questions pretending not to know. If the faker of this story really wanted to fake it, if he or she was actually a faker, the letter would be more incriminating than it reads. It's a story of questions. It's a story of absolute pretense not to know.
Don't you imagine it's taking the country away from the real breadth of the sanctions that the country should be discussing?
No, I need to develop the point I made about performative politics. Is you appear to care. There's a story of a governor somewhere in the world who, being aware that his government might be unable to fulfill the demands of his constituency, created a department of performance, that everything that they promised to work on had to go through this department. How do we put up a show to appear that we're actually fulfilling our promises? And this story is not lost on our government. In fact, not just our government, it's not lost on our politicians. They pretend to be things. They pretend to care, but when you actually don't. Because you see, for the entire time, activists in this country made public the largesse enjoyed by members of parliament, plus the speaker, most especially the speaker. The powers that are supposed to respond didn't care for a single minute. And then sanctions came. And then all of a sudden they try to care. So how do they care? So they start questioning, is it true she asked this? Is it true that she asked this? They're actually asking questions. The idea is to convince their public that, you know, we're also concerned about corruption in this country, so we are trying to make sure we intervene and correct things. But they really don't, right? They really don't. I don't think Mr. Museveni cares. And Kizza Besigye made this point yesterday when you're speaking to him. There is no care whatsoever. Museveni doesn't answer to this constituency. He's actually performatively responding to different constituency. The constituency that sanctioned Anita Among. That's the constituency that matters to him. But also he's not trying to really respond. He's trying to appear like he cares.
Yeah, but on the other side of the political aisle, the opposition, that is specifically National Unity Platform, is celebrating the sanctions and owning the initiative to push for these sanctions?
You know what I find fascinating is that there are similarities between the ways in which the National Unity Platform responded to the matter of Mpuga and the way Museveni is responding to the matter of Anita Among. Because as we wrote in our lead story that time in The Observer, we said NUP knew about these monies 2 years ago. Credible sources, and we reported this in The Observer. NUP knew about Mpuga's money 2 years ago. They didn't act. And then, when the matter became public, there was reason to act, to appear like they are concerned about the ways in which their leader of opposition has been behaving. And then I was asking, if you are a serious party, with a secretariat, you wait for ordinary activists to investigate the ways in which your leadership operates in Parliament? That you really sat back and waited for Agatha Ataire, Dr. Spice Sentongo, and then you respond? So you clearly want to convince the public that you had no idea what benefits, what negotiations your leader of opposition was entering with the system, and you are a serious party. You really want to convince us you had no idea? So they were acting to save face. It was performativity. And so let's throw this man at the bus. One of them has to catch the bullet. This is an old tactic of President Museveni, right?
So NUP is employing the same tactic?
When the constituency that you answer to starts to ask questions, you have to appear like you care. So Mr. Museveni has deployed this tactic for a very long time. So now he's, look at all the letters. The letters are asking questions. And you see, the letters will give up performativity, will sort of occupy us with this debates. And then thereafter, once the dust settles, all of it will be forgotten, right? So you need to appear as a serious government that you care.
So either Museveni and the National Unity Platform are putting up a facade.
It's the same game. It's the same game. The game that Mr. Museveni is playing with the sanctions against Anita Among, because the constituency that he answers to has appeared to care. So he has to also appear like he cares. So, you know, it's performativity. It's some with the sanctions people, by the way. Even the post-sanctions, they are also pretending. They don't take them so serious, by the way. Even the sanctioners are pretending. They don't really care about wastage of resources in this country. They don't. UK people, European Union, they don't care, because the wastage of resources in this country benefits them. In fact, the money that is being thrown around in Parliament is not our money. It is their money. It's the money they use to bribe access to the resources of this country. So if you see Anita Among throwing around this money, well, a tiny percentage of it is taxpayers' money. But a huge part of it are bribes given to us by corporations from the UK and Europe. You see, so the sanctioners don't care, Museveni doesn't care, people in the opposition don't care. See, it's a circus, right? It's a circus of all these politicians. And
you want to imagine that the gullible public is now trapped in this circus?
Absolutely, it's a circus. I can tell you for a fact, the wastage, if the sanctioners care about wastage, they go for the big rat, which is more wasteful. You see, you know, if there's a mother rat which is giving birth to all these very dangerous rats, why do you attack the small rats? There's a mother rat. You see, I don't think the sanctioners care. It's a game, it's a circus, because it's their money. Because look, I should give you a very interesting example. I mean, Daily Monitor, I think about a week ago, I think, it's not 2 weeks ago, a week ago, published a story where we earned so much money, I think 2 trillion from our export of coffee. And 7% of that money remains in Europe. 7% of that money remains in Europe. It is showed as money to the people of Uganda, but it says in Europe. Why? Because corporations are here. They have established companies here, appear to have Ugandan names, but they are owned by franchises in Europe and the UK and in all those places. So for them to sustain that dominancy of our coffee industry, they have to be parting with bribes. So the money is in Parliament. It's not really entirely taxpayers' money. It's to a huge part bribes by international people given to this government. And so it is wasted. Kalonzo Sseramaga told us in a very wonderful piece published in the Daily Monitor that Parliament itself is the bribe Parliament is the bribe. Now, if Parliament is the bribe, who is buying? And Kalundi traces this story quite very historically, that when there were the elite of the time, when the Legiko was being started under Andrew Cohen, the elite of the time, the activists, those who were in the Bataka movement, they were agitating for dominance in their economy because it's a native economy. It is our economy. We should be the key participants because it was dominated by the Indians, who are sort of deputies to the British colonizers. And when Andrew Cohen realized the agitation of the public, he picked key individuals from the Bataka movement, from all these revolutionary people, sucked them into the bribe that is Parliament. And they were overwhelmed with packs, with money, with this stuff. And then they gave up the struggle. This is the model that Museveni has used for a long time. The colonizers are still here. They give money to Museveni. Museveni throws it in Parliament. And then we have this debate. Museveni is trying to care about corruption. He doesn't, because his benefactors have actually given him money to spend. NUP cares? No, they don't. So it's a circus where the sanctioners, the government being sanctioned, and those opposing it, none of them cares. I'm telling you, in this country, we are on our own.
Yeah, but there is also this notion that Museveni wants to throw Anita under the bus. How do you weigh in on it?
It's a difficult one, right? It's a difficult one. And Anita Among has been, I think, perhaps the most useful of all Museveni's speakers. She has been very useful to Mr. Museveni. In fact,
in what sense?
Especially this older, tired, haggard Museveni needed a person in the character of Anita Among. You see, we used to call Museveni names when he was carrying money on his head and dishing it out. We used to laugh at Museveni, call him names, be critical of him when he carried envelopes. He delegated this job to Anita Among. He doesn't carry envelopes anymore. Legislators and people who need money are going to Anita's house and picking money from that place, right?
Allegedly.
Well, you can say allegedly because, well, that's the story that we know. Your sources must tell you how money in Parliament is shared in sacks. In fact, for me, as one who understands the idea of Parliament being the bribe itself, I don't know why the Mpugas, for example, had to put this 500 million in writing. They should have shared it in sacks and end of story. The problem is they had it in writing. So anyways, I'm just showing you how Anita Among has been very useful to Mr. Museveni. She is the one in charge of giving money to whoever wants to buy. Anita Among, despite her sophisticational weaknesses, she is a dealer. She knows how to negotiate deals and disarm people in the opposition. So Museveni's biggest project is weakening the opposition, buying members of the opposition, right? And Anita Among has so successfully disarmed people in the opposition. You saw how they voted for her speakership. She has everybody in her pocket. That's her genius. And Museveni likes that. Museveni enjoys that. That now, all the ire and the anger that was being directed at him is now directed at her. She's Museveni's most needed shock absorber. He enjoys that. Throwing her the bus would mean to find somebody else willing to, carry the luggage again, right? So that's the difficult part of it. Now, the good part, that's the good part of Anita Among. The ugly part of Anita Among is that is what you might call, the absence of sophistication. She's a very smartly dressed woman, but there's a bit of sophistication lacking. If you landed in New York, all of a sudden you see these neon lights, they're very exciting. I've never understood why Anita Among invited legislators and journalists to go to Mukadia to see her oversized house, right? Nobody was looking.
It was a Thanksgiving celebration.
Yes, that's what I call the lack of sophistication. Because you see now, amidst hunger and poverty and starvation, where everything is not collapsing, where normal business people are filing for bailout, a simple Speaker of Parliament is showing this mansion. We will be asking from whose money did she build this thing? She's not a successful businesswoman. We don't know what she's doing away from being a politician. Because we know even serious politicians, they are on life support. If they are, where is she getting this money? Nobody was looking. And now, all of a sudden, eyes are on her. I've never understood why Anita Among felt like it was necessary to drive two Mercedes-Benzes to Parliament. You see, this is what I call the lack of sophistication, right? Brand new Mercedes-Benzes, one, following the other. It was extremely unnecessary, right? But that's the lack of sophistication. So that is on her part. And I think that's the difficult part, that, the things that she's doing, the corporate social responsibility, it's very embarrassing that you channel money through people who work for you. There are better ways of channeling this money into your coffers through the structures without money compromising people. Because you see, my friend Chris Obore, if this government collapses, we'll be going to jail. Because how did you become a department of the government of Uganda? How did individuals become departments of parliament, that money could be channeled to them as individuals? You see, but that's the lack of sophistication, that there's behavior like you belong to Nasser Road when you have, because if you're in power, powerful people steal officially. Power steals officially, use official letterheads, official accounts. That's how powerful people steal. But you see, Anita steals like, this is from Katanga, from Nasser Road. It's embarrassing. And I think it's that part that has now put himself in a dilemma. You have a wonderful Speaker of Parliament. You have one of the best Speakers of Parliament that you need in this time when you're very tired and as he said, like the afternoon or the evening of your life as a politician at the same time. But at the same time, she attracts so much attention because of her private and public display of her fortune.
Do you think the opposition is getting it right in celebrating a move by imperialists?
First of all, they've never been serious, right? So every time you ask about whether the opposition is really, at the very beginning I said the sanctioners are in a circus, government is in a circus, the people in the opposition are in a circus, right? It's because you see, if they cared, there are more serious things which matter to the ordinary Ugandan beyond the small money circulating in Parliament. I can guarantee you, Simon, the money circulating in Parliament are very, very small. 500 million is very, very small compared to the potential that this country has, if they cared. Compared to the potential this country has, they are part of the circus. Look, they are in Parliament, and I said to you, Parliament is the bribe. All they are doing is putting up these shows, playing opposition. I don't know how much time you have so that we can go back to how people in the NUP got voted into Parliament, but they were not voted to, provide alternative agendas for this government. They were not voted to, fall back on the functional rules of an opposition. Because you don't tell me that we are operating under an autocracy and then you behave like you are under a democracy. That's the thing that bothers me. I find it confusing that after campaigning on a ticket telling us this is an autocracy, then you turn around and say, we need to go to Parliament to function as a democracy. It's ridiculous. So they don't care. It's performative to politics that they celebrate, oh, we're happy. Because you see, the first critique you would make is
I thought you'd give it to them. Robert Kyagulanyi.
No, in fact, for me, I would give it to the activists. I would give it to Agatha Tairi. I would give it to Godwin Toko. I give it to my friends Jimmy Spice and Tongo, because we've had now the opportunity to actually question the facade of care, the facade of seriousness. This is the opportunity, because you see, all of a sudden, as I said a couple of months ago, the new leader of the opposition is Dr. Jimmy Spice Tongo, is Agatha Tairi, is the young people at Agora Discourses. Because you see, now even people in the opposition, come on, even the people in the opposition are now running after things set by activists on Twitter and other social media platforms. That's the depth of their unseriousness. That you tell me you have a secretariat at either Kavle or Kamocha, but you can't investigate how your MPs are working, how they are entangled in all these bribes. You don't know for 2 years that your leader of opposition entered this arrangement with the government side of Parliament.
Okay.
And you have a secretariat.
Before I bring in Honorable Kabanda, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi has spoken to the media and said this is part of the efforts to clip and to bring into containment this government. that he's been reaching out to donors, asking them to freeze aid and also take action.
Again, I'm going to say it's sarcasm. I mean, let me focus a bit on the people pretending to sanction corruption in this country, right? I'm telling you, they don't care. They are playing a circus. I find it confusing, you know. Wonderful friends of mine, Agatha Haire and Jimmy Spice Sentongo, recently won the Human Rights Defenders Award given by the European Union, right? Agatha won it last year, Jimmy Spice won it this year, right? And I find it confusing that the people who buttress Museveni's government, who make it thrive and have this longevity, right? It's not Museveni's genius that he has stayed for this entire time. It's those people endlessly giving him money to stay and behave the ways in which he behaves and abuse those rights. They buttress Museveni and then they turn around and award those trying to fight him. It's confusing. Bombs and food coming from the same people. I find it confusing. You see, I likened it to a situation where, you know, the Imperial British East African Company was in charge of colonizing East Africa. And there were warriors such as the Dan Kimathi of the Mau Rebellion. I couldn't imagine a scenario where the colonial office in London turned around and awarded the Dan Kimathi for fighting against the Imperial British East African Company, right? So the colonial office in EU turns around and thanks Agatha and recognizes Agatha and Jimmy Spice Sentongo for fighting their man. Isn't that confusing to you? The point I'm trying to make is this. They too are in a circus. They're in a circus because what matters to them is not how good this country is governed. It's not how better human rights are respected. It doesn't matter to them. Their key thing is how are we given access to the gifts this country has to offer.
Well, Honorable Kabanda, nice to have you here and a very good morning. What do you make of the way the entire story around sanctions and the president's letters that are flying around is unfolding?
Thank you, Simon, and good morning to all the viewers and my brother. First of all, I want to sympathize with my brother because the Nupganga is going to have him for, I think, the next 3 months. They never want to be told the truth. I sympathize with you because you have told them the truth and they are going to abuse you on social media. What is the truth here, then? Because he said they are not into this. Yes, he said they reported this in, is it Observer? Because I was watching when I was coming. 2 years ago, the issue of Mpuga and the rest, they never came out to talk about it, even to address it in their meetings. They only waited for social media to begin the process and then they pretend to be fighting corruption. So they are going to say you are fighting them, yet you are telling them the truth. My brother Kagwanjala is a victim and all the others. So I am praying for you, my brother. Now, on the issue of the sanctions, of course, as he said, this is just a circus and they are playing on our minds. You have seen the president has written a letter to the Attorney General asking the UK High Commissioner to justify whether those assets of the Right Honourable Speaker are there. And of course, to me, I think they are not there. But as you said, there is some, you use this, I don't like to mention it, but you said Ugandans are gullible. You just said it here. Yes, they may want to think that we are gullible, but we are not. We know why they are bringing these sanctions. It's not because of corruption. Not because of the iron sheets in Karamoja. No. There are so many people who are involved in this. We had the vice president. We have actually so many MPs. You leave around the ministers that were mentioned. Even the MPs are there. Many of them, around 80. So when they hoodwink Ugandans that they are fighting corruption, of course they know, as you said, that Ugandans are gullible. They think if you come in that hood of fighting corruption, Ugandans will support you, will say, now, we have someone who is going to help us fight corruption. But it's not the case. They are, you just mentioned here that Agatha Twaire and Spire were awarded by a certain group of people, the European Union. And these are the same people that are witch hunting Anita Among. which means this fight has been systematic. We all know it's about homosexuality. And Abedi Wanika was very clear. He said, my party, NUP, can you please, I am going to write to you, and my letter is going to be addressed to you in English. You respond to Ugandans, what is your position on homosexuality? They have sober people. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, I understand, at least understands English. Their Secretary General is a sober man. They have a treasurer who's reasonable and understands English. Can they tell us their position on the homosexuality? And whoever says that these sanctions, there is a proverb in Nyankole that a young monkey laughs when the forest is burning, not knowing that that's where they sleep, because he doesn't know. If you are in the opposition and you expect to come to government tomorrow, these people, as he said, you can't trust them. Tomorrow they will support you to put sanctions on some people. Tomorrow you will be on government and they will be on you. So you cannot be here to justify what the UK government has done. And by the way, most of these positions have also been vulgarized by some of these appointing authorities. We told the president, when he was recommending people to us, I sit on the appointments committee, those who have lost in elections are the ones who have been appointed other DCs, are the ones who have been appointed ambassadors. You find someone has lost an election in Kasambia. David Kabanda has lost an election in Kasambia, so the president is saying, but this is my cadre, so what do I do with him? Let me appoint him to be the High Commissioner for in Nairobi. So even these people who that are appointed, because supposedly these assets are not there.
Okay, is it about assets or it's about lack of integrity?
You see,
you seem to be running away from the core.
Yeah, I want to come to that, because he said 500 million, the money that is spent in Parliament, that today I sit on the budget committee, we are going to sit to discuss the supplementary expenditure, Schedule 3. Do you know what is there? Atiaka is going to be given, has already been given by the cabinet of this country, 500 billion. 500. Supplementary expenditure, Schedule 2, the cabinet of Uganda gave Magora 570 billion. They gave Nelson Tugume of coffee $37 million, not 37 billion.
Processed through Parliament.
Cabinet, of course, they bring from cabinet. They said this one.
Parliament cannot check.
And you know what happened in cabinet? When Kaseja said, Your Excellency, I don't have this money, he said, I am not begging you, I am instructing you to give these people money. You, Simon Kagwanya, what can you do? When you are Kaseja, what can you do? So these people want to divert us from the bigger picture of the big monies to only 500 million, that yes, even 500 million is money that can do something in my constituency, can construct a school, can construct a center. Yes, I don't deny that. But where do you put the much emphasis? Me, I've been in that parliament. When they are discussing big monies, even these opposition people, he said, did you say the opposition, the leader of opposition in Uganda now is Agatha Twere? And I want to agree with you, because when you come to parliament, when they are discussing serious issues, my brothers are on WhatsApp. They even don't know what, they are on WhatsApp, they don't know. When we are processing bills, serious bills, they are on WhatsApp. They don't know. Yes, some people may be having issues with Mpuga, but I can tell you, Mpuga was a sober man when it comes to matters of registration in that parliament. But the people they appointed, just jokers.
Okay, when the president comes out vehemently to follow up the matter of sanctions, what does it reveal to you?
Of course, we some people say we are independent. We are not yet independent. These countries, yes.
Is the president well-meaning?
Absolutely, he does. Whatever he's doing, whether he's playing politics, a worker. Yes, but he's trying to balance now the boat. You remember, he's trying to balance the boat. He doesn't want to annoy, some people in Uganda, and at the same time, he doesn't want to annoy the people maybe he claims that President Museveni works for. So he's just there in the middle, just playing politics. Yes, I have not annoyed you, but also, Right Honorable, you see here, even I am trying to protect you.
But there is every impression that the curtains are now falling on the Speaker.
That one is a systematic move that has been, and this one I can assure you, you may think they are targeting the Speaker. I told some people a long time ago, I said, you see, if they fight a politician so and so, the next one is the one who has fought him. Then the one who has fought him is the next victim. Now, these people are going to be celebrating because Anita Among is falling. Who's next? Because even these people have given you money. Kyagulanyi is a beneficiary of this. Tomorrow he will never say anything about the imperialists. He cannot say anything because they have him. They will say, but for you, what can you say? Even if he comes to government, they have him on paper. They have supported him. They have supported his party. So he's a candidate for these sanctions. And I don't want anybody, any Ugandan, same Ugandan to celebrate because sanctions have been put on Simon Kagwanja. No, never. Sanctions have been put on my brother.
Do you wonder why Ugandans are celebrating? There is a section of Ugandans.
I do not absolutely wonder why Ugandans are celebrating, because these people know, they are smart. They know if they come under homosexuality, Ugandans will be with you. If they say they are fighting corruption, he said it. If they say they are fighting corruption, Ugandans will celebrate them. They will say, these people have come to support us, to help us fight corruption. You cannot say you're fighting corruption on just 300 iron sheets that were taken by Anita Among and returned.
It doesn't make it right still. It's corruption.
But the president's letter was very clear. You remember? He said, those that have taken the iron sheets knowingly and unknowingly. When I give you money, do you ask me where I got the money from? If I decide now to donate this jacket to you, do you ask me where I got the jacket from? Now, when they arrest you, now it's you now to say, Kabanda is the one who gave me this jacket. Kabanda, where did you get this jacket from? I stole it. Then they get me. Those who took the iron sheets knowingly and those who took the iron sheets unknowingly, and Anita Among and the rest are among the category of those who took the iron sheets unknowingly.
Well, as we take a break, where's the real substance that the country should be discussing in this entire story of sanctions?
Whatever Jimmy Spire Sentong endorses. But I want to say this. I find it...
You're idolizing a person.
Well,
because he said he's now the leader of opposition.
Because you see, he has no stake in it. He has no stake. There's no material benefit. In fact, it bothers me that the European Union now is trying to cheapen his struggle by starting to give it awards. Because I start cheapening. When you start awarding me for my activism fighting your workers, you're cheapening. You see, but I want to say this, Simon, in response to what Honorable Kabanda said. I find it amazing that, you know, the people in government take the European stance on homosexuality very seriously, that they care, so they would be fighting them because of that. They don't. Remember when the first round of sanctions was issued, DGF leaving and all these other things leaving, the head of the European Union was quoted in Daily Monitor saying at a function that despite this radical stance by the EU on your position on homosexuality, Uganda is more connected to the European Union through the sale of coffee. This is the head of the EU saying, right? So what matters to him more is not protection of human rights, because you see, EU homosexuality is spoken about as a human right. These are people who are bombing the life out of Palestine. They're supporting the bombing of life out of Palestine. And so they care about a way of mating. They don't. These people are doing trade. You know, homosexuality is not legal in so many places in the Middle East, for example. The relations are not sour. There's no fighting. There are no sanctions against. They went to play football in Qatar, right? But this is a bargaining chip, and it bothers me that people in the opposition, in government, find it serious on the part of the sanctioners that they would use homosexuality to sort of put pressure on?
Well, we need to take a very short break, and when we return, we'll still be looking deep into what Yusuf prefers to call a facade or a circus of some sort that Ugandans are engrossed in about sanctions and the president's letters. Is it really merely acting or serious business? Good morning. Well, welcome back. You're still watching The Morning Breeze and still having a conversation about the contradictions, the anxiety, and everything unfolding in the story around sanctions and the president's letters. Well, Honorable Kabanda, there's been so much fuss about fake and authenticity of the letters that were coming from the president. What do you read between the lines? Do you imagine the center is not holding? In the first place, the letters are leaking at an alarming rate. Does it raise eyebrows to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. First of all, I have myself talked to some people in State House. It is not a good idea for the head of state to be always coming out to write letters about everything. You should always write where people are expecting a response from a head of state. Not on everything. Mabati, it is me to write. That is micromanagement. The hoes that have disappeared, it is me to write. Coffee seedlings that have disappeared, it is me to write. You should leave these ministers to do their work.
I thought it brings him out as a hands-on president.
Absolutely, I'm not saying that he should not write, but on matters that where Ugandans are saying now, this is where the president must come out and say something because the thing is out of hands. This one could even be handled by, because he's already asking the Minister for Foreign Affairs to ask those people. You can just call a Minister for Foreign Affairs to write to the UK High Commissioner or Ambassador. You can ask the Attorney General to find out what is happening in the UK. You can ask the Prime Minister to follow up on a matter. Not on every, because now people have now mastered, some people can even forge a president's signature because of the letters that are coming in every day. And today we can, a lie flies so fast than even the truth. So you can predict that tomorrow His Excellency the President of Uganda is going to write a letter on the NBS Morning Breeze, where Simon Kagwanjara hosted two people and they talked about something. You will see a letter saying NBS Executive Director or Kin Kalisa. Yesterday I watched something. These are trivial, some of them are trivial issues that can be handled by your ministers, that can be handled by your...
So do you blame it on the handlers?
I absolutely blame it on the handlers because they need to advise the president.
Do you want to trivialize sanctions on the speaker?
I am not trivializing the sanctions on the speaker, but I'm saying if you have asked JJ Odong, you are writing to JJ Odong to find out because these are serious cases. You can as well ask JJ Odong, can you please write a letter to this office to find out so that you come up at last with a final letter. So-and-so has written to this. I asked so-and-so on a telephone call. He did this. They responded to this. IGG did this. Attorney General did this. You give a background and you give Ugandans a conclusion of your findings. But when Ugandans are expecting you to be writing on everything, the next day you will send an authentic letter. They will say, this is also fake.
Simon, just two small responses. The first one is that Honorable Kabanda works on the assumption that Mr. Museveni takes his ministers seriously, that he thinks they are serious people.
They are.
No, he doesn't. He calls them fishermen. I don't think he thinks fishermen are serious. This is why he has to intervene. And also, Media
metaphor was misinterpreted.
Look, Media Matembe told us the way Museveni talks about his ministers in their presence. He says, I appointed this one. He thinks he's vice president. You think he has any business he can do? When I appoint him, he's a woman, the women club, even the Basoga club, they have a minister. This is Museveni talks about the ministers, and this is a long time ago. So Honorable Commander here thinks Museveni thinks his ministers are serious people. He appoints them for the political benefit he gets from their bodies being visible as belonging to a particular place. So what I said to when my friend Ramadan Gobi got appointed a permanent secretary, at some point I said, you know, there's a problem with experts and technocrats working with Museveni, thinking they're going to use their brains to help the government. Museveni loves their presence and the constituencies they represent, over and above whatever else they're going to put on the table. Point number two is I want to think about the letters and what they mean. I think what Honorable Commander is suggesting is not going to happen. Museveni is not going to stop writing these letters at all.
Okay. There was a time when Museveni was tweeting. He's now gone back to the tradition of...
There's a crisis of relevance. Museveni is struggling to stay relevant in the conversations. Because as you know what happened recently, he was speaking to traders from downtown Kampala and they walked out on him. That is telling, a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, they wouldn't do that. That was unthinkable. Museveni would go through a lengthy narrative of pre-colonial history and people would patiently sit through it. Now they can't take this bollocks anymore. They walked out on him. Clearly, there's a crisis of relevance. Thus, these letters. They're going to keep coming. Because you see, he doesn't know which platforms are in the spaces where they want to listen to him. COVID-19 did something wonderful for him because we had to listen to him because he had been locked up in our houses. Right? It gave him so much leverage that time. I even saw not too long ago compelling media houses to broadcast his speeches for free. Media houses are like, this is a free market economy. You pay for it. We are not doing service. We are not an extension of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. You know, they're also demanding for pay. So the letters tell us something about the crisis within the house. That on even trivial issues, as he just said, somebody used to walk to those trivial issues and launch them. He used to go to launch boreholes and small schools. He used to go there. Now he has to stay relevant. That now in his haggard and 8-year-old man, you know, lost 40 years of dealing with this and that, he finds relevance in writing these letters. But also we need to address the elephant in the room, the claim that the letter was forged. It doesn't matter whether it was forged or authentic. I think it doesn't matter. Gossip and rumor are not appreciated for the truth in them. We love gossip and rumor for the world they make us understand. The enormity of letters and the claim of letters and counter letters. You remember in COVID-19, Museveni would give a speech.
Yeah, but his own
let me finish this point. Museveni would give a speech, then come back to correct himself the next day. And then come back again to correct the speech that he was giving as a corrective. He would come back many, many times. I don't know why we find that difficult to understand, that even in writing a letter, you would, you know, sleep over it and be like, I didn't have to write that letter, right? And then he finds ways of mitigating the damage he has caused. So whether the letters were authentic or not, they enable us to understand the world that we live in. We live in a world of leadership in a crisis. As he said, the man who's been powerful for 40 years, he's now being advised by a 40-year-old minister to say you don't have to do this. But you don't teach an old dog new tricks. This is the way of doing things for Mr. Museveni. Letter after letter. Under COVID-19, it was speech after speech. Now he's finding that I need to correct that. The problem with the letter is that it's easily shared on social media platforms and it's in ink.
Do you think these are leaked letters or they're deliberately shared?
I think it's both. I just know I use those two terms, deliberately shared or leaked. Well, partly the system, there are people in the system, I think like my friend here, my co-panelist here, Honorable Kawanda, I think he's a good man. He means well. When he sees so much damage happening, he may want to leak the letter, but it's part of the system. And there are so many well-meaning people who still have the heart for the country, but the system has sort of corrupted them. So in moments like that, they will see things happening, maybe the public will be interested, and they give it to us. But also at the same time, the leakers could be deliberate just to get us entangled into this conversation.
Does it really cross your mind that the president is now coming hard on the Speaker of Parliament, who until recently has been one of the blue-eyed girls in the room, in the scheme of things?
First of all, I don't think, I just want to respond on what my brother said here, that the president is maybe fighting for relevance and space. I don't think the president of Uganda is fighting for relevance, but as you said, maybe that's how he has been operating.
40 years.
40 years maybe, and he's not fighting for relevance. And for me, I am advising that he should change that method, because it is not good for a head of state.
He has been in power for your entire lifetime.
Anyway.
So is the president now coming hard or pulling the rug?
You know, our president, you cannot just say, many people have been doubting it, have been asking me, but isn't the president behind this? Because you know, when our president never wants anybody clean. He always wants to have a file somewhere, so that when you raise your head, he just asks Commander, you bring that file here. And we begin from there. Like the file of Temangalo, this. So that he has a grip on you, he has where to find you, he has where to...
You have that.
Yes, you have that somewhere. So that that file is kept somewhere. But to me, I don't want to go there. The last letter by His Excellency, the President, that was tweeted yesterday, means well. Let the UK government prove to us, because I tweeted that letter yesterday, and someone said, in these developed countries, you cannot hide. All these properties are there in your names. So it's not like Uganda where you're going to say, now Kagwanjala is operating on my behalf. No, let them prove. Let them show us that Anita Among, yes, has assets, because the president said, then we begin from there. You remember there are some MPs who lost their seats in parliament, like Kenny Ruchams. If we find out, because now if the UK government is targeting Anita Among, let them expose her. Let them produce the assets with the evidence, so that, because that one...
So, do these sanctions leave Anita Among doomed at home and abroad?
Absolutely. My brother, don't think that... I was telling some people, don't think that these sanctions are not... They are just trivial, as some people say. No, they are serious sanctions. These people can even tell Kenya, if you still want to cooperate with us, make sure that Kabanda doesn't step in Nairobi anymore. So we just want these people to prove, not an allegations and just witch hunting Anita Among as an individual.
Yeah, but you would ordinarily expect that, well, sanctions have been slapped. It's not the first time, nor Anita Among being the first person to suffer the wrath of these sanctions.
But UK, maybe Bobi Wine has also, but after how long?
No. We've had Kaihura sanctioned by
America.
the US. We've had several others sanctioned. But it's not made as much noise. And we've not seen the president coming out to react as much.
The president, of course, reacted on the issue. You remember on Al Jazeera, he was asked about the issue of...
yes, until provoked. Until provoked.
Yes, even this one has been provoked by the UK government, because you remember they have written, they have put this on paper. So he had to come out and respond. But my suggestion would have been, go through your ministers, because you appointed them in those dockets to serve you, to serve Ugandans and the world, to work on your behalf, so that you give a conclusive statement.
Yeah, but it looks as though Anita's enemies are using this now.
Absolutely, they are, because it has been, first of all, amplified by the opposition, who think, these opposition groups think that Anita Among, first of all, finished FDC. You remember Munyagwa here saying it. And Noop is saying Anita Among is coming for us. If we don't finish her, she's going to finish us. And there are also those in NRM who think Anita Among has just come.
But Noop overwhelmingly voted for Anita Among.
Then, even now when you go to a secret ballot, Noop is not the MPs. My brother here told you that these people were just, because you remember the candidate was given a ticket, their ticket against Mukaku. Do you remember that person? Dan Magic. The man was just getting his friends, and when they got parliament, they didn't know anything. So, These people, even when they came to parliament, they found a good person. Anita Among as a person is a very good person. So if you are dealing with her, not on the political side or where you belong.
I think good is a better word. She's a dealer. She knows how to negotiate deals.
I don't know, but she's
cunning.
She's kind, yes.
Cunning, not
cunning. Okay, she's also kind and cunning.
Smart.
She's smart, she's cunning, and also kind. Nobody doesn't want. You don't want to deal with a kind person. Everybody, including you, want to.
Let me give you the image.
And absolutely, she's cunning, as you said.
The image of Anita Among is of. You've been to downtown Taxi Park.
Yes.
In the night, late in the night, there's a woman who sells cigarettes and wines and liquors in small totes.
Down there, yes.
Or somewhere in the corner of the old Taxi Park. That woman has seen taxi men and their crimes. He has seen women who work there pee on right where they're standing. He has given them free cigarettes late in the night. He's given free totes of. Anita Among is that woman. That woman is always kind to every person in the Taxi Park. That's Anita Among. And that woman often has power because late in the night, she'll be your best friend because she'll give you a free cigarette, a tot if you want to drink so that you can take on the night. That is Anita Among. That's the image. That's the persuasion she has over every person in the old Taxi Park at the Parliament Avenue.
Well, as we get out of here, what do you see ahead? Letters are flying, inquiries are ongoing, engagements are ongoing. Is the curtain falling on Anita Among?
I don't think so. I mean,
politically,
I write in my column in the Observer tomorrow that I think Anita is going to survive this crisis. It's a small crisis, and I've said to her, once you survive it, go big, don't back down. Go big. There's much more. Because the problem for me, the problem with our politicians is they focus on the small things. Public service packages. There's much more in this country that they can steal and benefit their constituencies. For example, I've said this before, Simon, ABSA recently released its financial statement, and they showed us that they make 2.5 billion Uganda shillings every single day. 2.5 billion Uganda shillings is made in this stupid economy of ours. They make 2.5 billion every single day as profit. So I said, if you're Anita Among and you want to benefit your constituency, you start a thing like Bukedia Commercial Bank, and then you can make this money. Go big, steal so much, and open a bank. We have a transport crisis in this country. Steal so much and own Uganda Railways. Make it profitable. There's so much money in the things. My problem with our politicians, because everybody is stealing. The UK is stealing. Museveni is stealing. You push in the same circus. Don't go for small things. My problem is their dreams are so small, and they focus on small pleasures like cars and big houses. Let them go big. Go big. Airtel money.
Still big.
Airtel money. Let me tell you, Airtel, the telecommunication company. They make 3 billion in the first hour of every morning by selling their cheapest package. You steal a telecom. Own a telecom company. Compete with these people. You have so much money. This economy has so much money that we fail to count this money. We are focused on these small monies that the taxpayers give us because you see, the UK, for every single dollar they give to Uganda, they take 24 in return. They take 24. That's what the figures show. They take 24 out of this economy through coffee, through telecommunication, through banking. Focus on those things. So they give us a euro or a dollar, and then we distribute among ourselves. We buy brand new Mercedes-Benzes, but they are taking away truckloads of money.
Interesting. Has the president been convincing enough towards the international community in his response towards these sanctions?
You see, President Museveni, as he said about Anita Among, is very, I may not say he's kind, but he's cunning. President Museveni is so cunning.
He's cunning.
Yeah.
I like that you use the term.
Yes.
He's cunning.
President Museveni is so cunning. What he says in public
It's not what he does.
It's not what he does.
Which means he's a crook.
I don't know. No, don't call our president a crook.
But that's what you said. You said he's cunning.
He's a cunning
What
man.
he says in public is not what he does.
Let me justify. Let me justify. Now, here, he can even abuse these Europeans on TV. But after maybe in the night, he will say, no, I was.
How do you describe such a person who is double-faced?
Deceitful.
Exactly.
He's deceitful.
He's deceitful.
The minister, Honorable Kabanda, says on Morning Breeze
Yes.
that his president
I can absolutely.
is a deceitful man.
I can justify. Because you remember when he went to Nairobi, he said, you see, those people, World Bank, IMF.
Honorable Kabanda, you're a minister. They're going to sack you.
I am a member of parliament.
You're a member of parliament?
Yes.
You don't have a position in the,
No,
in the system?
no. I
He's
am a
a
member of
Secretary General
parliament.
of
I am a
PLU.
Secretary General of
How the-
Patriotic League of Uganda. I am not a minister.
You are the people.
I am. But let me tell you, you cannot tell me that what President Museveni says in public is what he will do. He doesn't walk the talk. He will say, you see, we are fighting the imperialists. And then you remember when he was signing the Nairobi agreement with the Tito Okello Lutwa, and after signing, he came and went to Ruweri. He said, you know, these people are just playing politics in Nairobi. Same here. He will say, these imperials, they don't want to give us serious loans. They're just useless, a bunch of useless people. And then at night he says, no, I was just playing politics.
How do you describe such a person?
Deceitful.
Deceitful?
Simple.
No, you are the one who said he's smart. He has ruled Uganda for 40 years, and that's what has helped him. You remember you said the guy is smart? Maybe
Do
you
you wonder why Ugandans are very hysterical? They are very engrossed in this whole thing about sanctions. And in a sense, you'd think that Bobi Wine has won.
Not all Ugandans, of course. You go to Karamoja and you ask whether these sanctions have even reached there. They know nothing. You go to Chigezi. Not all Ugandans, just a small percentage of Ugandans, maybe 2% or 3%.
So sanctions are a Kampala.
The elite. You remember what Messages told you here on the Morning Breeze? He's disappointed with which group? You don't want to say it.
Are they? Simon, yeah, just a quick comment on the fakery of these sanctions. To sanction a politician who goes to London and wherever for tourism purposes, it's a useless exercise. If you sanctioned a businessman who has to travel to negotiate deals, maybe it counts. That's why I don't understand these sanctions. They're very useless.
So you're treating them lightly.
I'm telling you, those people who are sanctioning Anita, they are using Anita to take out of this country $24 every time they give us one. And they're holding Anita accountable for the one they're giving us every time they take out 24. The fakery of it is that she can get whatever she wants from London without going there.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Honorable Kabanda, and thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, for speaking to us this morning. The conversation continues. Should Ugandans be really deeply engrossed in the current drama surrounding sanctions and the president's letters? Good morning.